Hey, welcome back, everybody. Sarcasm Speaks, Jared and Bob coming at you. I was thinking about this right before we got on because I was jotting down a couple notes. And I was like, I think somehow we've skirted a lot of the politics talk for like a while. I mean, I know we batch recorded like a ton, right? So we
Yeah,
did
like I
like
was say I wasn't here.
yeah, we did like 12 episodes in the span of like 6 or 7 days or something. Um, but yeah, we've gotten away with, which is nice, right? It's a nice reprieve. I don't like to, beat down politics all the time. It just so
I
happens
don't know
that
how people
sometimes
do it, man. It's a
it's
lot.
all there is to talk about. Yeah, it is a
Lot.
lot, right? To do like a specifically political show seems like a lot to deal
No, and
with.
plus I don't care enough. So it's
Well,
like
yeah,
not only do I not care enough, I also don't care to pay enough attention.
yeah, yeah. Um, well, all that is to say that
Let's talk politics.
let's talk politics because I've got a bunch of shit that's going on because we haven't talked about anything. And there's some of it that I just think is funny, that I enjoy, right? There's some pettiness involved, and I'm always down for that shit, right? So, um, first thing I'm going to start with is something that I thought was a little odd, um, but I'm not really super surprised because we're in Massachusetts. But I went to vote this morning. So I work from home today. So I took the wee baby Seamus with me and hopped on down to uh town hall and voted because they have early voting started, I think, Saturday, and it runs through November 1st. Um, One, it's way more convenient than going on actual voting day because that's insane. Um, Also, not to go down a whole other tangent rabbit hole here, but like that should probably be a federal holiday. Like if you really want people to vote, like you should probably just make election day a federal holiday, and then people will go vote because a lot of people probably don't vote because they have to go to work, right? So I'm not saying you're going to get 100% turnout if you make it a federal holiday, but you'll get more, right? If like I don't know, it would have like somewhere between 60 and 65%, I think, on average, of eligible voting age people actually vote. You might hit 70, right? You might hit 70, maybe touch 75 if you make it a federal holiday. You'll add, I figure you'll add at least 10%. But regardless, um, I went to town hall today to go vote. And I walk in and they're like, okay, what's your name? Tell them my name. Like, well, what precinct are you in? And I go, I have no idea, dude. And they're like, oh, well, what's your address? All right. So I give them my address. They look me up. They're like, all right, you're in precinct 9. They go, fill out this piece of paper and then take it over to that table that says precinct 9. I was like, all right, cool. Got it. Go over there. And I just had to write down like my name, address, and I had to signature and then write my precinct 9 right on this envelope. So I go over, I tell the lady my name, my address. She looks me up. She goes, can you state your full name for me? I'm like, okay. She goes, okay, here's your piece of paper. And I was like, oh, you didn't need to see my license? She's like, no, you're good. You told me your name. And I was like, okay, sure. So I like grabbed the ballot, I walked over and I filled it out and I, handed it all in, did the whole shebang, right? But I mean, I vote once every 4 years. So it's not that I really remember the last time that I voted, but apparently in Massachusetts, you don't need an ID to vote because they didn't ask me for one.
Isn't that racist to ask for an ID?
Well, yeah, depending on who you ask.
Yeah, I thought it was racist. Wasn't
Yeah.
that the whole thing?
Yeah, because black people couldn't possibly figure out how to get an ID.
Right. I thought that was the issue.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, again, it's just one of those things I was like, oh, all you need is my name. Okay. So I could like you could go tomorrow find the name of some person in North Attleboro, walk in, tell them that name, and then you can vote for that person.
And that's the thing is like I know we've said it like I forget like exactly how we phrased it, but it's like to say that there's no election fraud is obviously like way too short-sighted. Like there has to be some.
It's a non-zero value.
Yeah. It's like that. There you go, right there.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Because the other thing with the early stuff too, it's like, what's to stop you from going back, I don't know, 5 days from now?
Right.
You'd be like, oh, I'm here to vote. It's like, okay, name, and then you just pretend you're somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you find someone, I mean, this is what has been alleged, right? I don't know if it's ever been proven, but they find people, by they, I mean like, these alleged conspirators, right? They find people that have recently died that are still registered to vote, and they go fill out ballots in those people's names.
I mean, again, this was a black sheep, or this was the plot of Black Sheep. And if not the plot, it was definitely like a major aspect of it. And that movie came out in what, 96? So none of this is
Something like
new. And
that,
that
yeah.
like that's the shit that pisses me off is people are like again, it's like depending on what side you're on, some people can't handle the idea that like there is fraud in elections
Yeah.
worldwide, like worldwide and whatever.
Yeah.
There is fraud in elections. And it's like, oh no, you can't say that. I'm like, yes, I fucking can because it's mathematical. Like
Right.
there can't be zero, like you said.
Right.
Now to say that
To say
someone's
that it's
pulling
enough to
lists
make a difference,
of
again.
Gary Busey's fucking relatives who died in fucking World War II, to say that like people are conspiring to do that, it's like, all right, well, I mean, show me some proof, I guess. Like,
Right. Right.
because I mean, ultimately, I don't care. And
Because theoretically, what could happen, right, is I have like not my direct next door neighbor, but two houses down. I've talked about this before. The guy died, right? So the guy died, I think last Christmas, right around last Christmas time. Um, so if I found his name, right? Again, I could give you his information, his address, just his address and his name. You can go to North Attleboro Town Hall, say you're that guy at that address, and they'll be like, okay, here's your ballot, right? And you get to vote in North Attleboro, as well as, as yourself in Weymouth, right? So it's like,
well, I can't vote, but
well, yeah, I know. I'm saying like in a theoretical world where you did vote. Yeah, isn't that funny? Like it's easier for you to pretend to be someone else to vote than it is to vote as yourself because you would have to
actually, it
go
is
through yeah,
because yeah, I'm not, my registration
because you're not
expired
registered.
however many years ago. So yeah, it actually would be easier for me to vote as random people in random cities than it is to
Yeah.
vote as
The
myself.
only thing that would stop that and prevent that is someone at the polling desk who takes your information knows that person,
Exactly.
right? Like if that was Joe Schmo, right? And my neighbor Joe Schmo died 10 months ago, right? And you go in, oh yeah, I'm Joe Schmo from, you know, 17 Main Street. Like, no, you're not. He
No, you're
died 10
not.
months
I
ago.
went to
And
I
it's
went to
like,
his funeral.
yeah, yeah. It's like, you got me. But like that's the only way that's going to happen if you don't ask people for ID. So I've actually made a 180 on the whole like ballot voter thing. Should it be paper? Should it be digital? Should it be whatever? And it came after I went to the Quest Diagnostics a couple weeks ago. I think I told that as my final thought for one episode or something. Um, so have you been to a Quest recently? Probably not,
I don't think I've
right?
ever been to one.
So their new system, when you check in, it's a digital touchscreen, right? It's like a tablet. And then underneath it, there's like a little tray, right? And in that tray, there's a barcode scanner that goes straight down. So to check in at a Quest Diagnostics, all you do is hit check in, and then it says place your ID in the tray face up. So you place your ID face up, it scans it, and it goes, okay, turn it over. You turn the ID over, it scans the back of it, and then it pops up, oh, you're Jared Mello. You're here for a 9:15 a.m. appointment. Click complete to finish your check-in. And I go, okay, that's insanely easy. So everyone that's like, oh, you can't fake a paper ballot. Oh, you can't do this. No, no, no. We need to go fully digital. We need to go completely digital to the kiosk that Quest Diagnostics uses to check their patients in. Because all you have to do is just stick your license front, back, right? It doesn't, again, it doesn't need to be a license, it just needs to be an ID, right? Stick your license front and back, scan it, and you're good to go. And then you vote. And then you're there in the system, right? Now it's everyone's like, oh, but it's electronic and all this. But yeah, it's tied to you. You can only vote as you with your ID. Now you could steal someone's ID. Sure. Yeah. I know someone's gonna be like, oh, you could make a fake ID, or you could do this, and you could do that. Yeah, you could do all that shit too, right? But like you can also go to a different town and say you're someone that's died and get a paper ballot and do it that way too. Right. But I feel like the Quest Diagnostics way is a lot more secure just because of the fact of you need an ID.
It'd be like the airport fucking passport thing where you just like scan your passport, take one step forward, facial recognition, then you go through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone would be like, oh, we can't do that. We can't afford that. I get it. But like, I don't know. I just think like, especially now, because if you said this in 2008, I'd be like, dude, there's no point in what you're saying. It's a fucking waste of time. Like, and in
Yeah.
Massachusetts, truthfully, it is a waste of time because
Yeah.
the vote's never going to go Republican for president. So it's a moot point here. And every time I say that to someone who votes Republican, they get so fucking mad. They're like, yeah, but don't you like care about what they have to say? I go, no, I
Yeah.
don't. I go, they're all idiots. And they're like, yeah, but which one's less of an idiot? I go, that is not a good platform for me to fucking vote. I'm sorry. Vote for the less retarded one.
Yeah. Yeah.
How about you
Cool.
present a non-retarded one
Exactly.
and I will vote for that person?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny now, like the IDs to vote. It's like no matter what side you're on, you should want actual US citizens voting for what they want to vote for. None of the other bullshit. Like
Right.
you don't even like seriously, you shouldn't even want mail-in ballots. Like
Right.
it's so easy for those to get lost.
Right.
It's so easy for them to fucking like
Appear out of
any
nowhere.
anything can happen with those.
Yeah. And we talked about it before, like months ago, about the, or years ago, whenever this was, about the voter ID thing. You fix it by making IDs free, right? You can still charge people for a license, right? Whatever it is, $50 to get a license or something like that. But just a plain old ID, make it free.
Yeah, and I
There you
just
go. There's your
I
free
know
government issued ID.
and I do know where we live in Massachusetts, it's a little more streamlined. It's a smaller state. It's generally urban or suburban areas. I like get that
Yeah.
this is more complicated in other parts of the country, like more remote places, whatever. But I'm like, dude, like with how polarizing all of these elections are these days, you should want them to be as legitimate as possible. And that's the
Right.
thing is like, oh, well, there's this family in Georgia. They've been here a million years and, they can't get IDs. It's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, well, they're not
Hell,
documented.
I would be willing to spend more, right? Like I don't know, I forget how much it costs to renew a license, right? But just say it's $50. I'd be willing to spend 60 just so that I can subsidize someone else to get a free ID, right? Like that's fine. Like I don't know how much ID, like a regular ID costs. Maybe it's 30, $40. Maybe it's the price gouging and it's also $50. That would be absurd if it was the same price as an actual license. But again, I don't care. Charge me more for my license. Whatever. I renew it every 5 years. I can afford $75 every 5 years if that's what you want to make it, right? If that means that everyone, anyone, right? Everyone and anyone over the age of 18 is entitled to a free ID. That's fine. Whatever. I don't care. But like,
Just
don't
don't
sit
get it.
here and be
Well,
like, "Oh no, you can't afford IDs. So how can we expect these people to obtain IDs?"
I just don't get that.
Yeah,
I just don't get it. Like, what the fuck do you people? What what are we talking about here?
yeah,
And then and honestly, it's as simple as like if you just want an ID, like a voter ID or whatever ID, you can get it at the post office. That's how you get it.
yeah. So I don't know, but now we can get into some fun shit. So the big thing that's been going on in the last couple of weeks was the FBI released their data on crime, right? And their statistics on crime in the United States. And everyone was going around on the, the Democratic side saying, "Oh wow, crime decreased under the Biden Harris administration. Oh, look, Kamala Harris was great for crime. Look how much lower crime is now in the last 4 years." And everyone was kind of like, well, that seems kind of odd. Like I don't feel like crime is down that far. And like so a lot
I
of
also don't feel like she was fucking president, but anyway.
yeah, I know. A lot this is what they do now. She gets credit for all the good stuff that happened, but gets no credit for when the bad stuff that happened, right?
So
So
that way you
everyone's like,
play,
"Oh
hey,
yeah,
you play both sides. That way
you
you always
play
come
both
out on top.
sides." That's right. That's what everyone does now. Oh, she was a vice president for the greatest economic rebound in the history of the country. Okay, well, she's also the vice president during the time when we had the worst and least secure border for illegal immigration in the entire history of the country. Yeah, well, like that's not really her. That's like an administration thing. Oh, really? Because you just told me that she could take all the credit for the economy, but she can't take all the credit for this, right? So which one is it? Go fuck yourself. So back on the FBI, right? They came out, they released their stats. So a lot of people, to be fair, weren't saying that crime necessarily had gone up a lot, but they just feel like it hadn't gone down as much as the FBI had said that it went down. So come to find out, some people look into the statistics, right, and how they were calculated. It turns out that the FBI stopped gathering data from like 6 or 7 major metropolitan areas in the United States. So they were just like, yeah, we're not going to get any data, any crime data from them. So they were like, yeah, look how much the statistics went down. And everyone's like, dude, it went down because you collected less data. They're like, no, it's down. Look at it, it's down. Like all like the liberals and Democrats are like, oh, look, crime is down. Isn't this great? Isn't Kamala Harris great? Isn't she awesome? Crime is way down. So I'm gonna read the points here from Roca News on the FBI and the data revision. So let me get to that too. Um, the FBI came out last week and was like, "Oh yeah, that's right," basically because they got caught, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we revised our statistics now," and turns out crime actually didn't go down. I think it either stayed the same or it might have increased. So let me just read through this. So the FBI revised its 2022 data to show a 4.5 increase in violent crime that year. So it did go up instead of a 2.1 decrease. So they originally said crime in the country decreased by 2.1%. The new data shows it increased 4.5%. So that's pretty good. Almost a 7-point swing. Um, Violent crime figures have become a focal point of U.S. politics leading up to the election and were discussed at both the presidential and vice presidential debates. Conservative criticized the FBI for an alleged lack of transparency after the agency did not announce the revisions in its most recent press release. So, not only did the FBI have a lack of transparency by not gathering all the statistics, right, and not making it public, that the way they gathered their information was different than in the past. But then they updated their statistics and they went up. They showed a swing of 6.7%, right? A 4.5% increase instead of a 2.1% decrease, 6.7% swing. and they didn't announce it. They didn't put out like a big thing for it. They were just like, yeah, here's our new stats. And like someone caught it and like turned it into a whole thing. So the revisions, which were first reported by Real Clear Politics, were logged in recent files on the FBI's website. Uh, we definitely would have highlighted, this is a quote, we definitely would have highlighted in a press release or a report the 6.6% change recorded for 2022, which moved the numbers from a drop to a rise in violent crime, said Jeffrey Anderson, who headed the DOJ's Bureau of Justice Statistics from 2017 to 2021. So basically, the guy that was there under Trump, right, the head of the DOJ statistics stuff under Trump was like, yeah, I mean, we would have said something if there was a 6.6% swing, but like, who knows? He was there under Trump, so he's also probably just playing politics himself. They're all fucking pieces of shit. So in a statement, the FBI said it, quote, stands behind each of our crime in the nation publications. The Bureau also said that it will shift to, quote, monthly data releases to promote transparency and provide an opportunity for consumers to review data with the understanding that the data will be continuously updated. So basically, they got caught. They got caught manipulating the statistics. And now they're backtracking. And they're like, oh, yeah, but now we'll release the data monthly instead of yearly, right? And what's the other thing about doing that? The percentage change is smaller, right? So cumulative over 12 months, there might be a 4.5% increase in violent crime, right? Year over year. But from month to month, maybe 1 month is a decrease, right? Maybe 1 month is like a 0.5% decrease. People are like, oh, wow, violent crime was down 0.5% this month. And then the next month, maybe it increases like 1.2%. They're like, oh, crime's only up 1.2%. That's not bad. And the next month, maybe it only goes up 0.2%. And you're like, oh, wow, it's only up 2.2%, right? So, like, by reporting monthly, you make that number smaller and it removes the shock value of it, right? So, over a year, oh, violent crime actually increased almost 7%. You hear that and you're like, oh, shit, that's kind of bad. But month to month, it doesn't sound as bad. So even though they're trying to be quote unquote more transparent, they're still fucking scumbags.
What if they took their effort in fucking with the numbers and actually just like came up with some solutions?
That's a wild concept.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
I would like to see
Too crazy.
the FBI Bureau of Statistics, right? That guy that they interviewed for that. Like, how many people work in the FBI statistics division? Because if it's any more than 10, they all need to get fired.
Well, it's probably at least triple digits.
Yeah. Like, how many people do you need to run statistics for the FBI?
Depends on the budget and how many people
Especially
you
now
can.
with AI. Like you don't need that many people to work in the Bureau of Statistics in the FBI. That is
Yeah, but
probably
if
the
you don't
least
spend,
the
but
least
if you,
important part of the FBI's job.
but remember, if you don't spend the money, then you can't ask for more
Well,
next
yeah,
year.
exactly. That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to spend to the budget. Oh yeah, see, we didn't have enough money this year. We need more next year.
Yep. They costs are just going up.
Yeah, yeah, it's just cost of business, right? It just increases.
That's it.
Yeah, let's buy a new fridge for the office so we can justify, oh, we got budget. We got budget to eat up by the end of the
Hmm.
year.
Yeah. There's a few ways to do it.
So to no one's surprise, um, the FBI sucks, right? So the other thing that I thought was so this is the one that I thought was hilarious. Um, apparently there's been some back and forth between Harris and Trump because Harris has claimed that she worked at a McDonald's in California somewhere in like whatever 1963 when she was fucking 8. I don't know how old she was, right? She wasn't 8, but whatever. Like she claimed that she worked at McDonald's in high school one summer. Like she's told stories about it before, whatever. But then there's been reports where people have interviewed people that know her, right? People that have known her entire life. And they're like, hey, did she ever work at McDonald's? And they were like, I don't think so. I don't remember her ever working at McDonald's. But she's always told the stories about how she worked at McDonald's, right? Now, is it possible that this was just a summer job, right? And there's no record anywhere because it was the 60s and everything was kept in paper and it was probably destroyed? Yeah, absolutely. 100%. That is completely plausible, right? But people have gone to McDonald's and asked them for their employee records. And apparently there is no record of employment for Kamala Harris at McDonald's in California, right? So, which is where she grew up. So everyone's like, oh, she's full of shit. She's a liar, whatever, all this stuff, all this back and forth. So what does Trump do this week? And this is where shit gets hilarious. And I love the pettiness. And I think it's awesome. He sets up I call it what it is. It's a political stunt, right? Where he goes to work at McDonald's. So he sets up a shift at McDonald's, right? And everyone's there, cameras there, Secret Service, everyone's all there. And he's going around, they're videoing him like scooping the fries out of the fryer-lator and putting them into a thing. And he goes over to the drive-through and hands someone their order and like does the whole thing. And oh, Trump just worked a shift at McDonald's. And he was like, that's more than Harris has ever done. So he's going on, right? And so that's his whole shtick behind it, right? It's because Kamala Harris claimed she worked at McDonald's, but there's a lot of people that had no idea, and McDonald's itself has claimed that they don't have any record of it. So Trump was like, "All right, fuck it, I'll go do a shift at McDonald's," right? Again, nothing more than just a political stunt, right? So to me, I think that's hilarious, right? I think that is like pettier than petty can be, right? And I'm here for it. I'm here for chaos, right? We're always here for chaos on this show. Well, apparently well, not apparently, obviously, there are many people in this world that don't have fully functioning brains because the big outrage on Twitter over the last couple days has been quote unquote, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm using air quotes, but they've been exposing Trump for faking his shift at McDonald's, right? And I think I sent this to Twitter group to me, you, Jones, and Vinny. Did you watch the video? Is that where I sent it?
I didn't
Or it
watch
might
it.
no, it might have been Instagram. I don't know. I don't remember
I
where it
don't know.
was.
It doesn't matter. I saw the video. I didn't turn it on with sound or anything.
So there was a guy that went on and goes, this is why Donald Trump faked everything and lied. And he posts through the video and goes, there was a notice on the door that said that on this day, Donald Trump is going to be there. Right. And they were like, there was cameras in the McDonald's everywhere and it was staged. And there were fake people in the drive-through just getting cars to come through and they weren't real customers. They were planned and scripted and all this stuff. They're like, everything was scripted. Everything was fake. Donald Trump's a liar. Right. But the video I sent was like a rebuttal to that. And it was a guy just shredding this dude who was trying to say that Trump was a liar and was fake. And the guy whose video it actually was goes, no shit, huh? You think that the former president of the United States can just walk into any McDonald's? The guy that's been attempted to be assassinated twice in the last 3 months to just walk into any old McDonald's anywhere he wants and just start a shift, right? And just hand stuff to random people in the drive-through. You think that's what was going to happen? He goes, obviously. He goes, how do you have any fucking brain cells if you think that's possible? He goes, obviously, anytime a president or a former president or a presidential candidate is going to go give a speech anywhere, the Secret Service goes there weeks in advance to scout the area, do all this, do all that, and you're surprised that the people going through the drive-through in this McDonald's were rehearsed, right? And that the Secret Service was all over this place and they had to post a notice that this was going to host the president like weeks in advance. He goes, "You're a fucking moron." Right. But he like, I paraphrased all that, but he just, he was just ripping this dude, being like, how are people this dumb? And I was dying laughing the whole time because I agree with him. Like, how are you that dumb? Where you watch the Trump video in McDonald's and you go, I'm gonna sit here and pick this apart and why it's fake and why it's staged and why Trump is a liar. Like, no fucking shit, it was staged, dude. Like everything that every presidential candidate does is staged and rehearsed because it needs to be, because the Secret Service won't let them do anything. Like, do you know what the Secret Service is?
Can't believe he lied to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Here, I thought he was working a day of minimum wage labor at McDonald's.
Yeah. Yeah. How dare he?
Yeah, can't
How dare
believe
he
it.
mislead us?
I think that's worth changing a vote in the election. Fucking yeah, people suck, dude. It's just one thing after another, and just like people get so bent out of shape. And this is why, like, I don't want any more of this shit after this election cycle. Like, just go back to traditional politicians because, like, people can't handle themselves.
Yeah.
People cannot handle someone this polarizing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
they don't even know how to conduct themselves anymore.
honestly, I think I'm with you. By like in what is it, 2028? Like, just give me Gavin Newsom against Mitt Romney, right? Or
Yeah,
something. Like,
something
give
like
me
that.
two really fucking boring people that no one is going to talk about in the news for months and weeks and years, right? Like,
Yeah,
just
and it's like they're not going to really say too much.
like we know all politicians are scumbags, right? Like,
Every single one of them.
it doesn't matter whether they're Republican or Democrat. They're all pieces of shit. They're all going to lie to you. They're all in it for themselves. They're looking out for their upper class friends, right? And whatever, whoever donates to them the most, that's the special interests and all this. They don't give a shit about me. They don't give a shit about you. They don't give a shit about anyone that's listening to this podcast, right? So anyone that sits there and goes, "Oh yeah, no, obviously Kamala Harris cares about me and what I
No,
want," she doesn't.
does
She doesn't
not.
give a fuck. She doesn't give one flying fuck about you. She gives a flying fuck about what Halliburton wants and what Boeing wants and what General Dynamics wants. And all these people are bought and paid for by massive corporations. Pfizer, right? If you want to go into the biopharma world, the defense contracting world, like this is all who owns politics, right? BlackRock, Vanguard, if you want to throw them in the mix, they're the ones that politicians care about. They do not care about us. So I don't really give a shit, right? Like I said, if it's Mitt Romney and Gavin Newsom, so be it, right? They're both fucking loser, old, boring people, and they're both slime bags. So whatever. I don't care, right? Like I'm done with the constant berating of politics, right? Like I don't want to care about politics anymore. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, we're gonna have 4 more years of insanity because Trump's probably going to
Yeah.
win. So the news is going to go
Well, the
crazy for
problem is
four
if
more
if
years.
if he doesn't, the Republicans and the right are gonna fucking hate this woman. It's gonna be bad, man. Like,
Yeah.
just two guys that are career politicians. They're not trying to ruffle any feathers. They know how to at least speak. No health concerns. Like, maybe
Since
maybe some guys in their 50s.
we haven't had anyone that I would consider a good presidential candidate since 2012 when it was
Obama, Romney.
Obama and Romney. Because 2016 you had Trump, who is just a
Well,
fucking
and Hillary. That's
lunatic, and
she's
Hillary,
somehow
who is
somehow she's fucking worse than he is.
somehow, yes, less popular than him, right? Somehow is more the only person in this world that is more hated than Trump is Hillary Clinton, right? And then in 2020 you get Trump again, and then you get a guy with dementia, right? And now in 2024 you get Trump again for the third time, and you get a woman who's potentially almost hated as much as Hillary Clinton. It's like the last 12 years, like this is the best that we can fucking do.
It's not though, and that's the shit that pisses me off. Is we you and I both know it's not.
Yeah,
That's
no,
not
I
the
know.
best they can do. It's just what they're going with.
Even though he's an absolute scumbag and he's a liar and I hate him now, fucking put Dan Crenshaw out there, right? Like at least he's young. You know what I mean? Like I despise Dan Crenshaw, but I would rather have him as a candidate. Because again, he's a scumbag that you know is a scumbag. Like again, I don't expect my politicians to be good people.
He did a nice 180 in 8 years too.
Yeah. Yeah, when he first got in,
He
people were
actually seemed
touting him
promising.
as a potential like a future presidential candidate, and then he got bought out by all kinds of special interest groups and started making a ton of money, started insider trading. And then when he got called out for insider trading, he was like, "Well, how do you expect anyone in Congress to make money?"
Uh,
So it's like, dude, like you really don't understand how this works. So, but yeah. The interesting thing is I saw since the beginning of the year, Kamala Harris has fundraised $1.89 billion with a B, right?
Jesus
So
Christ.
she's raised almost $2 billion this year in fundraising money for her campaign. She's still not winning. Like I know everyone is saying that Trump is going to win, but like I think technically in the polls and in the like the models or whatever, the prediction models, it's still kind of a toss up, right? It's still just about 50-50. So imagine raising and spending $2 billion in a year to be a 50-50, to be a toss up
I
election.
just can't even imagine like spending
Like
that
how
kind of
bad are
money.
you?
Yeah, I think it's less of an indictment on that, more so like why are people like this? See, this is the problem. Never let a sucker keep their money, right?
Yeah,
People are willing to give it to her.
right. Well, are campaign donations tax deductible?
Probably. I mean, why the
Because
fuck
that's
else would
probably
anyone
another
donate?
way for rich people to skirt their money and their
Yeah, but
taxes.
remember though, you still have to have the money
True, true.
to
Yeah,
donate it.
yeah.
So the odds with the fine people of Costa Rica, no, Antigua, my bookie, celebrating 10 years. Trump, next president, minus 190. Harris, plus 150.
What is 190 equate to in
True
percentage?
odds. In true odds, I don't know.
Um, Let me see. I'm gonna look it up real quick. How to calculate implied probability? Yeah, no, just give me the converter. Just give me the tool.
If I could type. Also, for her to win, because,
You said
hey, here,
minus 190.
yeah.
That's a 65.5% implied probability. So that's almost a call it 66%. I'm rounding up 2 percentage points here by like, oh, that's 66%. Oh, that's basically 67%, which is two-thirds, right? But there's roughly a two-thirds chance, according to my bookie. Shout out to my bookie. Use our promo code in the show notes, and they'll double your first deposit up to $1,000. Um, but yeah, that's roughly a two-thirds chance that he wins, again, according to my bookie, right? I don't know what some of these other ones have it at, but
What the interesting thing is too, so the margin of victory, the favorite is Trump from 0 to 2.49%. Uh, popular vote margin of victory. So people are straight up just not reading this because the popular vote, as we know, does not take into account the electoral college, so that's just total.
right.
She is going to win the popular vote, like
Oh
without a
yeah.
doubt. The Democrat always does.
Yeah.
She's also minus 210 to win popular vote. But Trump has the favorite for margin of victory on the popular vote at 0 to 2.49, but it's very unlikely that he's even going to win.
Right. But if he did win the popular vote, that would be the margin that he would win it by. Like it would be a very small margin.
Correct. But that's the favorite.
Yeah, so you're not even going to get any, you know what I mean? Like
It
that's
doesn't
not a
make any
good bet. That's
sense.
not a good bet to make.
But if you do think Harris is going to win and you know your percentages, for her to win by 2.5 to 5% is plus 275, and for her to win by 0 to 2.49% is plus 350. So she's actually more likely to win by 2.5 to 5% than she is from 0 to 2.5.
Right. Right.
And that's even close to 5 to 7.5.
Yeah. So I just pulled up Bovada too, just because they're another offshore that has numbers on this. It's basically the same. Trump is minus 185 and she's plus 160. So basically the same odds. Um, they have party of the popular vote winner. They have the Democratic Party at minus 250, right? And Republican is plus 185. So Bovada knows, right? Like the Democrat's going to win. So yeah, Kamala Harris is going to win at minus 250 to be the popular vote winner. Um, but the betting favorite at Bovada for popular vote winning margin is actually a tie from Harris by 1 to 1.99 to Harris 2 to 2.99. They're both 5 to 1 odds.
Those are pretty good numbers.
Yeah. Harris by 0 to 0.99. So basically between 0 and 1 is plus 550. Trump by 0 to 1 is also plus 550. But then once you get to Trump by 1 to 2, you're looking at 8 to 1. So I mean those are pretty good odds. Like if you think Trump's going to somehow eke out the popular vote, he's probably going to win by less than 2% on the popular vote. So you're looking at,
He's not winning the pot. That's
yeah, I mean, it's not going to happen. There's too many people that live in cities that vote blue. Vote blue no matter who. So the betting favorite right now in this Bovada, shout out to Bovada. I mean, I haven't been on my bookie to be fair, but they have a balance of power option too. So like everything, and they have right now the betting favorite at even money is Republican presidency, Republican Senate, and Republican House. So they have a sweep of all three as the betting favorite. The second favorite at 3 to 1 odds is a Democratic presidency, a Republican Senate, and a Democratic House. So it would seem to me like the betting odds would imply that the Republicans are probably going to take the Senate because at even money in 3 to 1, and then the next is 5.5 to 1, and that's a Republican presidency, a Republican Senate, and a Democratic House. You need to get to 6 to 1, which is the fourth highest betting odds to get, which is a Democratic sweep, right? Which I don't know if I see that happening, but who knows? I've been wrong before. So at 6 to 1, you have the Democratic presidency, Senate, and House, right? The Democratic sweep. Now, if you wanted to play the conspiratorial game and think that potentially there was some fuckery going on, and I'm not going to bet this, but if I were, this would probably be the bet that I would make because it's pretty good odds. At 16 to 1 in the balance of power section, you can bet a Democratic presidency, right? So Kamala Harris to win, but then the Republicans take the Senate and the House. So if you think there's like, look at all these votes that just kind of popped up overnight. No, look at that. Kamala Harris won the election. She's the president. But the Republicans win the Senate and the House. That's 16 to 1 odds. Like I said, I'm not going to bet it, but if I were going to bet on anything, I'd probably bet on that.
Well, the other thing too is if you believe in fuckery, you also probably want to go to the state by state stuff. So I was just on Pinnacle,
Yeah.
um, which of the offshores is probably the best. Or I'm sorry, they're like the best bookmakers,
Right.
I think. Usually that's usually Pinnacle's reputation. So it's like if you think fuckery's afoot, that means Harris probably wins Georgia. That's plus money. She probably wins Pennsylvania. That's plus money.
I saw something
And I know
today.
someone who made a killing in 2020 betting like that.
Yeah.
Like he bet Biden to win everything, Biden to win Georgia, Biden to win probably Pennsylvania, probably Arizona. I forget where Biden won, but he
Yeah.
hit like 5 states and the overall
Yeah.
betting
What's he
like real
betting on
money.
this year?
I think on so this is the problem though. He is a left leaning
Yeah.
like like politically he leans left, which I found very surprising because it does not necessarily match his personality.
Yeah.
Um, but also with him specifically, I don't know why he leans left, and I don't know if it's has nothing to do with political ideologies and just has to do with like he might hate religion or something. And he goes, "That's why, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm fucking out on
Yeah.
anything Republican because fuck religion." Like I don't know what it is.
Right. Right. Wow, Bovada really gets into the weeds here. They have you can bet on the election winner and concession. So it's minus 650 odds, but so this is the betting favorite is Trump to win, and either Biden or Harris are going to accept the results and concede. The second favorite is Harris to win and Trump not to concede.
Oh, I would say, yeah.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
I
because
wouldn't make a
you can
bet on
pick
four minus 400 odds. Like
no.
that's not worth it.
Well, those odds also don't make sense, right? You have a -6 and a -4 back to back. It's like that doesn't
Right.
work.
But there's two other possibilities is Harris to win and Trump accept and concede. That's plus 300. And then the highest one is Trump to win and Biden Harris not concede is 4 to 1. So you have four potential outcomes. But I mean, I saw um I saw today something that said that Trump leads in every battleground state except for Michigan and Nevada.
Is New Hampshire a battleground state?
I think technically it is.
Okay, because he is a very, very, very overwhelming underdog, according to
Then
betting
maybe
lines.
then New Hampshire probably doesn't count then. I
Or
don't
it's
think they're
probably not.
big enough.
It's probably not big enough.
Yeah, I think it's a swing state, but it's not like a pivotal swing state. You know what I
Because I
mean?
don't think it
Like,
really matters who wins New Hampshire.
yeah, like what do they have? Like fucking six electoral votes? Like, who gives a shit about New Hampshire? Because what does Massachusetts have? 12?
I don't even know.
I have no
Doesn't
idea.
matter. I know where they're going.
Yeah, dude, New Hampshire has four. They have four electoral
Doesn't
votes.
matter.
That
That's why.
couldn't be any more of a joke. I was close. Massachusetts has 11.
Yep.
So
You can just assign them now. That's the
Florida has
shittiest part.
30. California has 54.
It's so funny
Texas has
too. Like,
40.
oh, there it is. I was gonna say because it's so funny that you can pencil in 54, 11. What does New York have? 45?
New York is 28.
What? They have less than Texas?
Yeah. I mean, outside of New
How?
York City, like New York is pretty sparsely populated.
I'm surprised. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, you're getting an automatic 39, 54, 70, 83. Oh, I already forgot the numbers.
What did I say? 54 is California.
28,
28 is New York.
oh,
Texas is
11.
40. Florida's 30.
Like 90 something.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Democrats get like 90 something right off the rip.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So in New York State, like the entire state population is $19.5 million. Dollars. I'm sorry, $19.5 million. It's 19 and a half million people,
What does the city
right?
have? 12?
Let me see. New York City population. The population of New York City is 8.8 million people.
Oh, not even that big.
No, Texas has
Really, clearly more.
30 million people in it.
There you have it.
So an extra 10 million people than New York. But yeah, so like I know New York City is huge. Like the actual city is huge and it's massively populated. But like outside of New York City, like there's not a lot to New York, right? Like because it's a pretty big state. And if you remove, round it up to call it nine, right? That's so there's 9 million people that live in New York City. And then there's 10 million people that live in the rest of the state. And that state's fucking huge.
Yeah.
So that's kind of bananas when you look at it like that. So I think that's probably going to put a bow on politics, though. So I think we're good for probably like another 3 months. Unfortunately, it won't be because we're
I would
just
say the
inching
election.
closer to the election. But at least we had like a solid 2 month stretch where we didn't have to talk much about it.
I mean, the other thing too is probably after the fact. We're probably not going to have to say much because someone's going to win, someone's going to lose. I don't really give a fuck who is who. And
Yeah. You know what I just thought of? This is hilarious. So the reason why so part of the reason why I went to go vote today, um, one, because voting on election day is just kind of insanity, right? I'm not waiting in line. I'm not doing that whole thing. But the other thing is I have to travel for work. So it just dawned on me that I'm going to be in San Francisco that week. So I fly out Monday and I take a red eye Wednesday. So I land Thursday morning. So I'm going to be in San Francisco of all places if Trump wins. I'm gonna be in my hotel room with my camera looking out the window, watching all the people crying in the street and fucking flipping out. And like in 20, was it 2016, right? Yeah, where the woman was like kneeling in the street, screaming at the sky. Like maybe I'll go Instagram famous, right? I'll go viral if I catch a good video of people crying in the street in San Francisco. Just watch out for the piles of shit.
Yeah, just don't step in shit while you're there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, where I'm going, it's basically it's the financial district, right? Like I'm staying a block away from like the office building that we're renovating and that we're building out. So I'm not going to be like in the thick of it. We're also in the nice part, the quote unquote nice part of San Francisco. We're not in it's I think it's northern San Francisco. I think South San Francisco is the sketchy area.
Where the airport is, airport south.
Yeah.
Harvey Milk International? No. Harvey Milk was the terminal.
Oh,
What are you flying, JetBlue?
yeah.
I think you'll land in the Harvey Milk terminal.
Guy couldn't even get his name on the whole airport. Guy gets
Yeah, I
fucking
think it's
shot. He gets
pretty.
assassinated in the city, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll give you a terminal."
I think yeah, I was to say I think that's the best we can do as a terminal.
Yeah.
I believe
So yeah, you want to wrap this up?
we can wrap this up. So, full disclosure, I've been to Italy once. I don't want anyone to forget that. So, while over there, uh, couple things. One, I had to pronounce my name very differently because that was not gonna get through.
Oh, you mean
So,
Totero?
well, it's so actually it's for them it's Datiro. That's how you have to pronounce it for them to fucking figure it out. You say anything else and they're gonna look at you funny.
Yeah.
And kind of figured that whatever. Like that's like my Italian teacher that I had that was actually from Italy. Like that's what she used to say. But anyway.
Yeah.
So usually the way it goes with a lot of people is or a lot of these like tour guides or drivers, whatever, people at the front desk of the hotels. It's like, okay, they'd like look at the name and they would look at me back again and go, oh, you look Italian. And it's like, yeah, I am like down the line. And they're like, oh, like where from? And I'm like, fuck, man. Like, I don't know where the Dateros are from. My great grandmother, which sometimes they get some blank stares. So I would have to say, like, in Italian, I would say, because the way you have to say it is like the grandmother of my mother.
Right. Right.
And like, I was like, oh, okay, I like Capisco. Like, I understand. Like, fine. But like, people ask you enough that to the point I'm like, you know what? I guess I should probably fucking find out where these people are from. So I don't know if you ever try to do any ancestry stuff. I'm not trying to pay ancestry.com. That was one of my things is I didn't want to pay them because it's actually like sneakily expensive.
It is now. So I did it when we were in college, and I think it was like $20.
Okay, so I think it's $25 a month, minimum 6 month commitment, and if you don't cancel on time, it renews into another six.
Oh no, dude, fuck
It
that.
might, it's something like that. And I'm like, All I
Yeah, I didn't
want,
have that. I did it because I did it once in college. I think I paid 20 bucks for like a month-long subscription and I
well, then I
canceled
think
it like
what
the
they
next
do
day.
is they hit you for it's like a 14-day trial, but then they hit you for like a $25 cancellation
Yeah.
fee. And I'm like, well, if they're gonna hit you with these random, I just don't want to get involved in this because yes, I could have signed up, found the document,
Yeah. I
and
mean, this was
whatever.
also 10 years ago, right? So
Yeah,
when we were in
it's different.
college.
Inflation, dude.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do everything in my power not to pay for this info. Because the other
Right.
thing is everything's like kind of blocked, so you don't know what they actually have. And if I want to find out where my great grandfather is actually from, I need the fucking document. And I need his naturalization because
Right.
it tells where he's from. So it's like the census it doesn't matter, a birth record won't exist because it's not US. Like I need his fucking naturalization papers. Like that's the only way that this is gonna work because we eventually got my great grandmother's, but we had her passport. That's how we knew where she was from. So
Could you go to Ellis Island? Like, is that something you can go and look up in their records?
I don't know.
Assuming I know
But like
there's
what
more than one place that people would come into. Ellis was
because that's
just a
the other
big one.
problem is I would have to know that he went there.
You would have to know what port they came in from.
And sometimes you need to know the boat or like an approximate birth year. Like you need to know like
Right.
some decent info.
Right.
Uh, so the first thing I was able to pull was death record, which means I was able to find out what his name actually is
Hmm.
because one record said Pescalino, another record said Pascalino, another one said Pasquale, which obviously that's short, but like if I'm trying to find this,
Right.
and another one said Patude. And I'm like, one of these things is not like the other because a lot of shit was handwritten. So it's like Pasqualino, Pesqualino, like
Yeah.
Pasquale, short. Like those three at least make sense. I don't know where the fuck Patude came from. Like that does not make any sense.
Yeah.
So I was able to find his real name and death. So then I was able to make sure I could kind of like confirm the approximate birth year. Like it made sense. Like he died in 86 and he was born like 1902 or something. Like okay, so I'm like, we're talking like kind of the right thing. Then like you can find the census documents pretty easily. And I'm like, I knew he was a shoemaker or a cobbler. Like I knew that. So I'm like, yeah, this checks out. This is the right thing. Like find it out. And like I'm able to see that he did naturalize. So it's like he was a citizen at some point. I'm like, all right,
Hmm.
so I got to find this document. And I'm using like Ancestry. I'm using Family Search. I'm using fucking like government archives, like whatever. But it's like everything ultimately ends up like you need to pay for something. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, I don't want to pay like the government sites because if you get the details wrong, they're not going to send you what you need.
Right.
So I'm like, I don't 100% know the details, so I don't exactly know what I'm requesting, like
Right.
for documents. Um, and it was like just complicated enough that it's like I can't do this. And then like some other options are going to archives, but that's in like in Boston or
Yeah.
he was from Cambridge, but I don't think Cambridge has like a fucking national archive. And again, there's no guarantee that I'm gonna find this stupid fucking piece of paper. So I'm fucking around on Ancestry and I log in. I don't pay anything, but I log in because I'm like, if I can find proof that they have the naturalization document, I'll pay. I'll pay the 25 bucks and cancel whatever. So they have like a preview, but you can't see. And I'm like, well, how the fuck? I'm like struggling with this because I'm like, how do I know it's the right fucking thing? Because that's
Right.
all I want. I just want to know that it's the right fucking thing. Like even if it's like I'm like I will like fucking call customer service because I did this over like 3 days. I'm like I'll call customer service and be like, listen, I'll fucking pay you if you just tell me that you have the document. Like don't tell me where. All I want to know is where he's from, and I'll pay the fucking 25 bucks. I don't give a fuck.
Right.
I go, this has been driving me fucking crazy since I got there. It's like I can't say where the fuck I'm from, and everyone keeps asking me. So I don't know what the fuck made me do it, but I was able to see, and it's blocked. So if you hit the link for naturalization papers or whatever, it
Mhm.
brings you to like a paywall. But for some reason, I'm able to hit the image and I'm able to open the image in a new tab.
Hmm.
So I'm looking at it. And I'm like, all right, well, if it's
Government
blurry,
government job.
I'm like, again, if it's blurry, but it tells me, I'm like, I'll pay for it. Nope, right there.
Yeah.
So the image preview shows up in another window. I'm able to download it and I'm able to, it's a little blurry because it's just a preview image, but I was able to figure it out from there. And then once I figured out, I mean, I've had his spelling, his birth year, approximate his date, like the census stuff. I've had all that. I've got the fucking place in Italy. Um, and the one thing well, I mean, so obviously the naturalization confirmed it, but it's again, there was like a couple spellings that could have fucked me up here. I was able to find an old church bulletin from when he was still alive at the church in fucking Cambridge
Wow.
saying something, whatever the saint. It's Muralugano is where he's from.
Yeah.
So whatever the saint in Muralugano is was being celebrated at this church in Cambridge. And in the bulletin, it said something like, we have various families that come from Muralugano, where he's the patron saint from, in parentheses, Dataro, and then like the six other families, whatever. I go, we're in, we got it.
Yeah.
So my great grandmother is from Campania, the region, Salerno, and then the village is within that. Salerno being like an actual city. And then the region directly next to it, very like it's like on the fucking border, is where my great grandfather, the actual Dataro, is from. Uh, the region is Basilicata. The city is Potenza, and then there's the Merlicano is like the smaller spot.
Yeah.
So then I look and I'm like, all right, well, just got back from one trip, got to start planning the next one, right?
Well, yeah.
So I'm like, all right, how do I get to these places?
Right.
Well,
Where are they like geographically? Is that southern
south,
Italy?
south,
Yeah.
so south of Naples. So Salerno's right on the coast, the west
Right. Yeah,
coast,
I know. I'm familiar with Salerno.
but
Yeah.
the village is way more inland.
Okay. Oh
Um,
yeah, I see it. Campania.
yeah, so Campania is the big region.
You say Bisaccia?
Basilicata.
Uh,
It should be directly east of Campania, or you can look up Potenza.
yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see it.
Um, but the thing is, it's like the village, like so I'm looking at it and I'm like, all right, so how do I like make this trip kind of work?
Yeah.
And it just so happens that everything basically ends up being about a fucking hour from each other. It's like any direction I want to go, 1 hour. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to say Salerno to my great grandmother's village is an hour. I want to say Salerno to my great grandfather, that's an hour. The two villages themselves, they're an hour away. And I knew this, or I knew that area, but actually, the other half of my mother's side, they're from Avellino, which is also Campania.
Hmm.
Um, an hour. Everything's an hour. Like there's no way to get to any of these places without driving like precisely 1 hour. Um, so one day I'll get to these places, but I did like that. I'm like, again, I don't want to pay fucking ancestry.com if they don't have what I'm looking for. Because that's the thing, they don't make it easy to know what you have looking for. So then when I open it in the preview, it's all right there. I'm like, yep, good. Score one for the
Right.
fucking good guys on that one.
So that's one of those that I'm actually glad that I asked my grandmother years ago before she died, like where her family was from. So like I know where they're all from, but like I mean, again, I don't know if I'll ever get there. But it is really cool to like know, and it's I would imagine it's cooler for you having already been to Italy and being like, okay, I can physically get there and like you kind of know where it is, right? Like you've experienced the country already,
Right.
right? Like you're like I know how I would navigate there. Um, I mean, my family was from northern Italy, so we're like
Ah,
the
rich people. Us peasants are
uh
down south.
yeah. My
Or were you duped into saying, "Oh, the mountains, the mountains, the mountains," and then it's like, nope, all those villages down south, they're built into mountains.
yeah.
Because that's
No,
what,
we were literally one of the cities is on the border with is that Switzerland? Yeah.
yeah.
It's on the Swiss border.
Mm.
It's Cadrazate. It's outside of Milan. It's like northwest of Milan, but it's literally
Ah,
like
rich, rich. You guys were kings.
yeah, yeah, totally. None of that money made its way to me though.
Nope.
I forget what the other one was. Old Ginnasio? I have it
Yeah,
written
not
down
sure, but
somewhere. But it is kind of cool,
yeah, that was
right?
the thing. So
Like
yeah, so now the three ancestors that were from Italy, I actually can like find the exact spots they're from. But it makes like a lot less sense for because the third one that I didn't talk about is obviously my mother's maternal side. So it's like she doesn't share their last name. They were like super fucking old.
yeah.
They were like 20 years older than like the other great grandparent. And I think like 30 years, almost 30 on the other one. So it's like it's going back like way too far. Plus, it's like my grandma was a pain in the ass. So just like too far removed, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. But still, I mean, it's really cool. It's cool to know that like the roots, right? Where people come from. Like I can't tell you how many times I've ran into people obviously being around here, like everyone is fucking Portuguese. And like, oh, Mello, oh, you're Portuguese. So I'm like, yeah. Like I had no idea that that was even Portuguese until like was on the southeastern part of Massachusetts where all the
We didn't
Portuguese
have
are.
Portuguese people north
Because
of
we never
Boston.
had Portuguese people
We
in
went
Medford growing
south.
up. Yeah,
The
yeah,
same reason, like it's the same reason you can take Portuguese in Taunton. If you're in Taunton public schools, you can take Portuguese, and in Medford public schools, you can take Italian.
right,
And they look at you
right,
like, "Oh my God, you can take Italian." I'm like, "Oh my God, you can take Portuguese?" Because
right,
I would have said like, "Oh, do you have a ton of Brazilians down here?" It's like, no,
right.
why?
Yeah, exactly.
Because that was like our experience was
Yeah,
Medford had a huge Brazilian population, so it's like if they were ever going to offer Portuguese, that would be why,
right,
not
right.
not Portugal Portuguese.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, like so I know that we're from well that side of like the Portuguese side, the Mellows are from um Ponta Delgado, which is it's on São Miguel,
Point
which
of
is
the
one of the
cat.
I yes, the Point of the Cat um in the Azores. So we're not even like mainland Portuguese. We're Azorean. So
Is that also peasantry?
I think so,
I think
probably.
it has
They're
to
in
be.
islands. Yeah.
What's like it's like Sicily, like poor as shit, and they all fucking hate them.
Yeah. Beautiful area though,
Yeah, it's super nice to visit, but
but no money.
a lot of crime.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh all right. So my final thought is it's a relative quick one, but if you're in the Northeast of the United States over the last couple of days, it's been pretty warm, right? It's been unseasonably warm here. Where I usually like it still is relatively nice in October in New England. You still get some 60s, 70s, but we've had a 3 day stretch where it's going to be kissing 80 degrees 3 days in a row. And I was in the office yesterday, so I was home today, like I said earlier. But being in the office yesterday, the amount of times that I heard people be like, "Oh, feels like summer out today. Oh, can you believe it? It's kind of like summer today. Oh yeah, you got short sleeves on today. It's because it just feels like summer." Like I hate everybody and everything because everything is the same. Everyone says the same shit. It's all the same stupid joke. Like, oh, it feels like summer today, right? That's why I texted you and Jones and Vinny. And I was like, hey, did you guys know it was hot out today? Because I had no idea. No one said it felt like summer today all day. And then as I was walking out of the building over to the parking garage, I was just walking behind two people and like, oh wow, it's beautiful. I don't think they knew each other. We just all happened to be walking out of the building. And this one woman goes, wow, it's so beautiful out today. And the other woman goes, yeah, it's just like summer. And I was like, that's when I texted you guys. I was like, I've had enough. Like I've just, so I texted you guys. I was like, hey, did you guys know it's warm out today? Like the fuck, dude. Like who cares? Yeah, it's 80 degrees. It's October. It happens. And it's not
Good
unheard
morning,
of.
dude.
We get nice weather in New England in October. Now, once you get to November, it's gone, right? Until May of next year. But we still get nice weather in October, right? Like I don't know what this whole thing is. People are like, "Oh, I can't believe it's this hot." Have you not been paying attention? Because
Also love like can't believe. It's
if
been
you look at my
70
golf
on Christmas
history,
before.
like I've golfed, if you look at like the dates, because I use the 18 birdies app, like I've been able to golf multiple times in October throughout the years. Like it's not
I
that
play
cold.
I October is not even a month for
I
me
mean, I
to
play
like.
all the way into November.
Yeah, November is where things start getting sketchy for me.
Yeah. Usually Thanksgiving is like, it's time to hang them up.
Yeah, the 15th becomes like an
Well,
inflection
this year
point.
Thanksgiving is late, so
Yeah, it's like I know it's when the active season ends anyway,
yeah,
but I just struggle with frost delays because sometimes I need to play at 9. And if the frost delay doesn't kick till 11, it's like I can't play anymore.
right, right. So
But yeah, otherwise it's like November's fine
yeah,
if you have the flexibility to play a little later in the day. And then you run out of daylight too, but
right,
that's beside the
right.
point.
Yeah. So yeah, it's warm in New England and everyone's freaking out about it. So in case you didn't know, feels like summer
Feels like
outside.
summer.
Yeah. So that's gonna do it for us. If you can do us a huge favor, if you're on YouTube, click subscribe up above, hit the thumbs up down below. Subscribe if you're an audio only guy. Leave us 5 stars and a review on Apple and Spotify. You get us on Instagram at Sarcasm Speaks Pod. Twitter is sarcasm_speaks. Facebook is Sarcasm Speaks. The website is sarcasmspeaks.com. Like we mentioned earlier with mybookie.com. Check out the show notes below. Support the sponsors, support us, get some cool deals. And until next time, good night, everybody.